And his you could also make that all
No, wait on that yours, man. Okay. Charlie's here. John's here. No, Ben. Must not be a volleyball game today. Just has to get you. Alright, so, hey, you go back to edit, you better cover it. She. What? You should delete her words. I know, but if you go on the right side, there's a, you go back, the history of the document. Oh, no, we were just presenting.
Tuesday, I will 16, please.
Okay, yeah, we were. Yeah, we enjoyed it. Okay, we got a couple more presentations. And then I'll play a couple of videos for you. So, according to what I've got, that I've seen turned in, have you guys done for, you're presenting in the 11th, right? Okay, I'm doing that. Okay. All right, Kai is not here. Got Alex. All right. Tell you what I'm gonna play. You ready to go? Okay. All right. From what I can see turned in, let me just. Okey doke. There should be on the sides.
Well, there's a previous version that was saved, so I'm just gonna finish that part.
Okay. But you found something?
Yeah.
Alright. Why is this doing this all of a sudden? Is it doing it on your laptop too? That you have to pick the duration of the class?
Yeah. I think they like updated or something like that. They usually just pick, I just go pick an hour.
Okay. All right, Alex. You just want to do it from there? Okay. Good. All right, we got one presentation and I got 3 videos for you to play, so lock in.
These guys are artists, a job during the Great Depression. And they also inspire a bunch of citizens. But it was also seen as a helpful part of the world. So it was really- I mean, it was really helpful to give some artists, a job during the Depression. And it did really well.
Okay. All right, just FYI, the Federal Art Project kind of morphed during the war because you're gonna see a lot of things that are gonna happen when we get to World War II. All these propaganda posters. How many of you have ever seen the picture of the woman, Rosie the Riveter, who's flexing her arm like that? That was done by the same, I forget what they called it, but it basically, it ceased to exist, you are correct, but everybody got sucked right into the, another branch of it. Because we put out a lot of great propaganda stuff during World War II. We were awesome. Okay. All right, I got 3 of them for you, 4 of them for you to watch. So, okay. This is Asma's. So everybody pull her up on your thing. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start. You're not even reading it. Oh, by the way, she told me what happened, that your voice wasn't picking up on the thing.
Yeah,
She said you read it 4 times.
yeah.
Okay. Everybody good? Everybody ready to go?
Yes.
I have yours. I have a link. I'll let you. Yes. Make sure you're All righty. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to.
Might have a Sakai sighting.
Ooh, okay. All right. How do I play this thing?
I will warn you, this thing gave me a lot of trouble in Canva.
Okay,
Uh,
so you're not a fan of Canva now?
yes, I did not have much time once I was going to Colby on it.
How do you play it?
It's possibly you give me last, and I tried to work this out on my Chromebook. The word this thing is not between you all.
Here, hang on.
This is just the slideshow.
Let me try it this way. Okay. Let me try another road to it. Alright. Here, there's like a play button on mine.
The audio is still recorded when you're editing, but it's not playing.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I found it. Oh. Just X out of it.
Good job.
Excellent. I didn't think the audio was bad.
Very bad, setting it up.
The process.
Yes.
Did you have to stop and record on each slide or?
Yes.
Oh,
Every single one.
okay, that explains the stops. Okay. All right. Next, we have Eli. All right.
That was funny.
Okay, and our last one. All right. Okay.
All right. So go ahead and finish up your peer reviews. And then we will go over the beginning of World War II.
Yes. Yes.
World War II, Electric Boogaloo.
September 1st. September, talk about it. And the second, and the third,
Mhm.
and the fourth.
Oh, I'll let you go off when we get to the invasion of Poland. Don't worry.
Let's hand you the mic.
I just want to make sure that you portray this correctly. Wait, it's the
That's gonna come back.
Oh,
Alright, I'll present it.
That, I will. Michelle, do you know where to get tickets for the musical?
No. You know who knows? Maybe who knows? Ask for lunch. See if this was, this hour, we have two students from the other side.
All right, once you're done with the peer reviews, go ahead and shut down the Chromebooks. Been a minute. How are we? Good?
Fine.
Raise your hand if you're alive.
I am.
Raise your hand if you're breathing.
Well, we just not sure.
Raise your hand if your name's Blake. Blake's not alive.
It's a lot now, actually.
Okay. All right, so the essential question that we are going to be thinking about today is what led to the outbreak of World War II in 1939? Does someone have an educated guess before we get into it? Patrick.
If I had to guess, this, it was something involving the German Nazi occupation.
That was the like inciting incident. But what led to like the rise of the Franz Ferdinand? So that was World War One.
That's war.
That was the previous war. So that was what led to World War One, which did create in a domino effect World War Two. Do you remember what happened at the end of World War One though?
Germany was not allowed to do things like the monarchy.
Yeah. So that's one of the restrictions. So the Treaty of Versailles, end of World War One. We said Germany, even though all of us are fighting over colonial outposts in Africa, it's your fault, actually, that this happened. And so you must pay $33 billion, which we figured out was something like 700 billion today or something like that. It's a lot. And what else happened during World War One that makes it very hard to pay that back? Factories were destroyed, right? Europe was decimated by artillery and modern weapons. This is the first time we have like a fully automatic weapon war, right? We have huge bombs and tanks and all these things that had not happened in warfare before. So if you owe someone billions and billions of dollars, but they make it impossible for you to make any money, are you going to be able to pay them back? No. And so they're not able to rebuild, and that leads to years of resentment in Germany. Okay? But Britain and France also wanted to avoid another war. So as we're going to see throughout the 30s, they're going to use what's called appeasement. So while Germany and Italy and Japan are taking over neighbor territories, Britain and France are going to say, all right, well, stop there, guys, please. We don't want to fight you again, because they had also been bombed in World War I and did not want the same thing to happen, right? They're trying to rebuild. As you can see, the Depression hit Germany harder than most places, right? Obviously, it was bad in the U.S., and obviously it was bad in Britain. But in Germany, unemployment got to 30%. 32. Okay, so you have very high unemployment, a lot of resentment, and that is the brew for the rise of Nazism. Okay, inflation was so bad that German children are playing with stacks of money because those stacks of money are worthless. Right? They're making money pyramids. So that's how bad things were. You couldn't even buy anything with that money. You couldn't buy a gallon of milk, right? And in the 20s and 30s, as nationalism increases, you have totalitarian dictators. Do you know what I mean by totalitarian? Patrick.
I presume it means total control dictators.
Total control, right? In the shape of one person. It is not a democracy, right? Do you think you get to vote in the dictator? Or do you think they just take power? They take power. Some of them, like Hitler, was voted into a position in the government, and then once he was in that position, took more and more power, right? So they come to power by promising jobs, promoting nationalism. Nationalism is huge, okay? Especially in like Germany, where the entire world has just blamed you for World War I when everyone's at fault. It's going to be easy for someone like Adolf Hitler to come in and say, look at all these people. They hate you because you're German, right? That means German people have to stick together and rise above them. Okay, so a huge rise in nationalism. So you have Stalin in the Soviet Union after Lenin dies. You have Hitler coming to power in Germany. You have Benito Mussolini, who rises to power in Italy. Francisco Franco in Spain, and Hideki Tojo in Japan. Okay? So they control all aspects of the nation by eliminating rivals, denying liberties, using censorship and secret police. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? You remember the story I talked about a few weeks ago with Mahmoud Khalil being whisked away from his apartment in New York to Louisiana simply for leading a protest, right? Since that has happened, there's been a young girl at Tufts University in Massachusetts that's also been arrested for not even writing an op-ed piece in opposition to what our government's doing, signing on to an op-ed piece. There's video of unmarked cars and unmarked men claiming to be ICE, taking her away. So we're denying liberties, using censorship, and a secret police. That's why learning about this stuff is important, because you can recognize these elements in your modern time, and you're able to then fight against it, right? Does this make sense? Okay. So, in the Soviet Union, remember we talked about they pulled out of World War I because A, millions of people died in World War I, but B, the Communist Revolution in 1917. Okay? That is when Vladimir Lenin comes to power in the Soviet Union, and a short 7 years later, he is dead. Bum, bum, bum. Then you get the mustachioed man, Joseph Stalin. Stalin was pretty high up in the Communist Party at this point, and ends up taking a lot of power for himself through disappearing people and pretty ruthless means, right? So
It just disappear.
you just
vanish.
vanish.
Like-
There's a famous picture of
Nobody knows who you are.
a few guys who are standing with Stalin. Then there's a before and after. They were photoshopping people out of pictures
Long before Photoshop.
long before Photoshop even existed, where you just disappear people from like history completely. So, obviously, being a communist, he wanted more communal control of things, a more centrally planned economy, and a more central planning for how resources were distributed. He also used a secret police and a great purge to eliminate rivals, because that's how you consolidate power in a totalitarian dictatorship. You just eliminate competition, right? So Stalin had a couple 5-year plans that transformed the Soviet Union into an industrial and military power. Remember, up until World War I, they were still under a feudal economy. Do you know what feudalism is? Does anyone remember from world history what feudalism is?
It's basically more extreme version of basically class hierarchy, if I remember correctly. Most people are doing horrible jobs. As you go higher up, basically, you're bit of work, you get richer, or more important jobs until you get to one person who's basically in control of everything.
Kind of. There's definitely hierarchy. The issue, one of the biggest issues is there's no social mobility. So if you're a peasant, you're going to die a peasant. If you're a knight, you're going to die a knight. If you're a king, you were born a king. You're going to die a king, right? And so you would have peasants who were living on land that was not theirs, farming and giving their crops to the landowners, the nobles, right? And that is what was going on in Russia before the Communist Revolution. And so, post-revolution and then post-Lenin, Stalin's 5-year plans makes them a huge industrial power. And it does it faster than any other country had done it before. Okay? So by 1939, they are making a ton of coal, or a ton of steel. They're mining a ton of coal, harvesting a ton of wheat, right? And they're becoming the next, or one of the world's superpowers.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
One of the things you gotta realize with Stalin, people were so afraid, he set goals, and if you didn't meet them, if you were the factory leader, you disappear in the middle of the night.
Yes.
You either go to the gulag, if you're lucky,
You lucky.
or you end up in the basement of a prison getting shot in the back of the head. But after you had pleaded out to several crimes, one of the things the factories would do, and we found this out at the end of the Cold War in the 80s, they had certain quotas they had to meet, they just lied. So they could meet the quotas and not get in trouble, or they produce really bad stuff. But it is as horrible as thousands of people died during this process. One of the things he did, he sold all of his grain from his country to other nations to make money to pay for industrialization. A lot of people in this country starved to death during this time.
Yeah, there are also insane natural disasters happening in the Soviet Union at this time, so a lot of those could be attributed to that too.
Here's something that's hard to get your head around. Joseph Stalin was probably one of the most evil people on the face of the, what he does makes Hitler seem almost like not a nice guy, but
No.
he kills probably 3 times more people. The only difference is he is not, well, he is a racist, but he's an equal opportunity killer. He kills everybody. He doesn't care if you don't meet his goals or if you become too popular, he'll take you out.
He kills his own people too.
Yeah.
His own nation.
Right before the war starts, he was worried about a couple of the generals getting too popular. He killed off like 10 of his best generals.
Yep.
Thank goodness for Marshal Zukov.
And that is a theme in totalitarian dictatorships, right? Is you just try to consolidate power around yourself. So, not all totalitarian dictators were communists. In fact, almost none of them were at this point, except for Stalin. So in Italy, Germany, and Spain, people turned to an extremely nationalist government called fascism. Fascism was essentially invented in Italy in the early parts of the 20th century. And so when Mussolini rises to power in 1922, this is the first like truly fascist country. And so how they control people is through social means, right? So they're supported by the middle class, the industrialists, and the military, because these leaders promise business owners, hey, we're going to protect your money, right? We're going to protect your things, your property, okay? The state is more important than the individual. There's usually a charismatic leader, so a lot of times you'll hear people talk about like, oh, Hitler's speeches were crazy, electrifying, like people were just like wrapped up in a fury because of them, right? So that's one of the characteristics of the leaders. Very, very often, very racist, right? That goes along with nationalism, is the idea that other people are inferior to your own people. And so a lot of times it would be very racist, as we'll see with Nazism.
One thing you'll notice, guys, they all gave you somebody to hate.
Yes.
It's somebody else's fault.
People are coming across the border to steal your jobs. Does that sound familiar?
The only thing that is weird, Stalin, if you look at, you don't know how he gains power because he's 5'4". He has really bad skin. He had smallpox when he was a child. He had actually had a deformed shoulder where he couldn't get his hand. If you ever look at his picture, like he only puts his hands like that this far. He had like like something really weird. His feet were. I mean, there's no way this guy should have gotten power, but because of the Communist Party, the guy who probably should have taken over from Lenin was offered a job, General Secretary of the Communist Party, who's the guy who picks everybody. They gave that to Stalin. Stalin put all his friends in, so his friends returned the favor and voted for him. And then they shouldn't have, because he ends up killing almost all of them off.
Right. So fascists did not offer democracy, right? They used one party to rule the nation. And fascists believed that people could keep their property, but kind of. Not all people. In fact, not most people, right?
Only the chosen ones.
Only the chosen ones. And in Germany, it's the Aryans. In Italy, it is the true Italians, right? And so Mussolini's fascist party seizes power. They promise to revive the economy, folks, rebuild the military, and create a new Roman Empire. Does revive the economy, rebuild the military, and make Italy great again sound familiar to you? Okay. So he has a march on Rome with his black shirts. The black shirts are kind of the equivalent. You've heard of the SS, and we'll talk about them later. You've heard of the Gestapo, right? It's secret police, or these state-backed groups of people who are usually unmarked. Now, the black shirts, you're not going to believe this. Guess what color their shirts were? Black. Whoa! So these are people who are enforcing fascism on the streets. Okay, so you have fascist policies from the government, but as we've said before, policies are only as good, only as real as long as people are willing to enforce them. Okay, so the black shirts in Italy are those enforcers on the streets.
Guys, Mussolini comes to power when Hitler is still trying to work his way up within his own Nazi party. He wasn't in a position of power yet. And the way Mussolini got power is his black shirts went around, okay, it's election day. We're going to go around, and who are you voting for? Well, I'm not voting for you. They beat him up. The next guy, like, who are you voting for? And they would follow people. It was legal to follow people into the polls. Like, they would stand over your shoulder, make sure you voted for them, and then they would leave. Now, if you don't know this, I made the mistake of going and grabbed my wife's phone from her while she was voting the other day. Just because I got this close to her, I got yelled at by the polling guy because we are very strict about voter intimidation. Now, unfortunately, they're not as careful about it as when you're walking into the building anymore, because poll workers will barrage you. I mean, not poll workers, but people handing you flyers will get a little bit too much in your face. But
Yeah.
they basically end up, and Hitler is a big fan of Mussolini, he actually goes and studies how he's taking power. And guess what? He gets black shirts too.
He does. So the Nazis, you've heard of them, yes? We know a bit about them. You've played Call of Duty, killed Nazi zombies in Call of Duty. So they were a fascist group that wanted to overthrow the disloyal Weimar Republic. They were saying the Weimar Republic was not doing right by the Germans. They were allowing Jewish people to take over the economy, and they were allowing all these different things to happen. They said, this is bad. We shouldn't have let the world powers overrun us at the Treaty of Versailles. These types of things, right? And Hitler rose to power very quickly. Again, another mustachioed man. All these guys have crazy mustaches. Are mustaches inherently fascist? I'm not one to say.
You know.
That's a joke. So Hitler, again, like Coach Hill said, was impressed by Mussolini and used a lot of his ideas to make the Nazi Party strong in Germany. You've heard of the book Mein Kampf, My Struggle, yes? So Hitler wrote this while in prison and wrote that Germans were members of a master race called the Aryans, that all non-Aryans were inferior. Hitler's ideal German or ideal Aryan had blonde hair, blue eyes, 6 feet tall, athletic. Some things you'll notice about Adolf Hitler are what?
None of those things.
None of those things.
Well, he had blue eyes.
Okay.
Guys, if you ever study psychology in college, we don't spend time talking about Hitler. Hitler suffered from massive inferiority complex.
He declared the Germans needed Lebensraum, which is living space, and they should conquer Eastern Europe and Russia, which always goes well. You always want to, anytime you can invade Russia, especially in the winter, you want to do it. It's famously good for you to do that, and it works out well all the time. He called the Treaty of Versailles an outrage and vowed to regain land taken from Germany after the war. But then he also said, I'm not going to stop there. I'm just going to keep taking land until people stop me. Right?
In Mein Kampf, I had to read parts of it in college. It is a messed up book. Now, and this is going to sound weird, but one of the reasons he gives for hating the Jews so much is he said they were false pretenders to being the chosen people of God, because the Aryan race, and by the way, if you remember your world history freshman year, the Aryans that were in India, this is not the same people, but the Aryan race, the Viking, Nordic people, these are actually the chosen people of God. Somehow they came up out of Israel, and the reason they didn't like the Jews is because they were the true chosen people of God, is what Hitler thought. Now, is there any rational backing for this? No.
Of course not. But that's part of what fascism is to get people behind an ideology that makes no sense. Right? So Hitler put Germans to work, building highways, weapons, increasing their military production, right? So he becomes very popular among a lot of people, right? People are getting jobs back. Remember, this country was decimated after World War I. They did not have any productive capacity, and they owed a lot of people a lot of money. Also, as we talked about earlier, created the SS and the Gestapo, right? So the SS was a government protection squad, the Gestapo, a secret police that would go around making people disappear, okay? And so then in 1935, after becoming chancellor and then dictator, Hitler begins a series of anti-Semitic laws called the Nuremberg Laws. So it dictated that German Jews, or any Jews living in Germany, had to wear a gold Star of David, as you'll see right here, to identify themselves as Jewish or as different, right, as other. They forbade mixed Jewish marriages. and deprived German Jews of the rights of citizens. They were essentially a second-class citizen in their own country.
Hey, Mr. Brown, was the Jews the only people Hitler hated?
No! No, they were not. Hitler hated pretty much anyone that wasn't white and straight. So we'll get to it. He killed a lot of gay people, a lot of mentally ill people, gypsies, a lot of, I mean, if you were not white German, you were not spared. But the first group that he went after, well, the first group was communists, then the second group was Jews, and then everyone else.
Hated Slavs,
Hated everyone.
hated African Americans, he was equal opportunity hater.
Was, except for the whites.
Yeah.
Then, 1938, 3 years after the passing of the Nuremberg laws, he said, you know what, that's not enough. We gotta just go ahead and eliminate. So he ordered Kristallnacht, which is the Night of Broken Glass. Why do you think it was called the Night of Broken Glass?
Literal sense that work with class businesses.
Yep. Exactly. So you're attacking the buildings, right? Jewish synagogues and businesses. Do you think that that would kind of send a message to the people who would frequent those places? What message do you think that's sending? What's up? That they hate them, right? Not very welcoming, if you ask me. So, that is the situation that we will leave off with in Germany for the time being. We will get to, obviously, what happens next, but we have to set the stage in the Pacific. So, Japan, around this time, they were the strongest nation in Asia, and they were ready to conquer new lands. When they say conquer new lands, who do you think they mean? China and Korea. There's a lot of China. So, Emperor Hirohito gives full control of the military to another mustachioed man, Hideki Tojo. This man served as the military dictator. Okay? And so, in the 30s, Japan, Italy, and Germany begin aggressively expanding in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Okay? In Japan, they're attacking Manchuria, which is kind of a big section of China, and then mainland China as well, right? And Nanking specifically. There's Peking, Nanking, Manchuria, all these different places that they're attacking. Okay? And so by 1939, Japan has taken over all of these pink areas on the coast, right? They're pushing forward. They're like, we gotta do this, okay? 35, Mussolini tries to create an Italian empire by invading Ethiopia for some reason. Why do you think Italy was wanting to invade Ethiopia and Libya and Eritrea? Probably resources, right? There's also, I mean, it's right next to the Arabian Peninsula, right by the Red Sea, right? So you have some access to oceans as well.
Out of curiosity, I don't really remember the exact standing, but are they trying to like say they're trying to lead towards like the Roman Empire? What they're taking over? That's human character for
That's exactly what's the goal.
Pretty much, yeah. So if you'll notice, Libya is in northern Africa, right? So he wants to go from Italy to northern Africa, probably Egypt, right? The former Roman Empire is all those places, right? So you're trying to just take over as much land as possible, own all of the resources. Ethiopian soldiers defended their country very well, and they ended up not being fully taken over. But the League of Nations, we remember this, yes? What is the League of Nations? What is the League of Nations? It was the group of countries that was established after World War I to solve international incidents diplomatically. Said, hey, let's talk things out instead of warring it out, because warring it out leads to the destruction of the entire European continent. So they condemned Japan and Italy, but they did nothing to stop these attacks. This is called appeasement. Okay? Appeasement meaning we are just trying to make things all good. We're trying to say, okay, you can do that, but nothing else. Well, if you're going to appease people, but you're not going to enforce it in any way, do you think they're going to stop at what they take originally? Probably not. Right? So, because the League of Nations was so weak against Italy and Japan, Hitler said, you know what? I think I can start taking over some places too. So by 1936, he moved troops into the Rhineland, which is right here between Germany and France, and a little bit of Netherlands and Belgium, but right here, the Rhineland, right? Moves troops into there and says, all right, you're mine now. And then goes into Austria and the Sudetenland. So Austria down here, which is where Hitler's from originally. So that makes sense. The Sudetenland, right above Czechoslovakia, right? And then eventually he says, well, why not just go to Czechoslovakia too? So in 1939, after taking back the Rhineland from France, which they had lost in World War I, and annexing Austria and the Sudetenland, Hitler invades Czechoslovakia. And what do you think France and Great Britain did about this? Nothing. Right? So this is Mussolini and Hitler and Great British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain meeting at the Munich conference in 1938. And Neville Chamberlain goes, guys, come on. Guys, stop it. You're being silly.
Was it because they were horrified of another world war starting and the economic problems?
They were doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and Chamberlain did the really dumb thing of believing Hitler when Hitler said, oh no, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
See, what you said early on, we're just going to unite all the German-speaking people. That's all we're doing. We
Yep.
found German people all over the place to see them.
Turns out, German people are where the land is, right? And then in 1939, after taking over Czechoslovakia, Hitler demanded the return on Poland to Germany, did not want war with the USSR. So for centuries now, Russia and Germany kind of fought over Poland and Lithuania. And Hitler said, well, we want Poland, right? And so Stalin and Hitler said, okay, we both want Poland, but neither of us want war. So what are we going to do, Ms. Rasny?
Punch.
We're going to split them up. Okay? The non-aggression pact between the Nazis and the Soviets promising to divide Poland and to never attack each other.
Okay, these political cartoons, he's getting ready to show you a bunch of these political cartoons. You are going to see them on your test, so you need to pay attention when he explains them.
So, does anyone want to read this political cartoon?
It's kind of hard to see.
Is it there? Okay, well, on the one side, right here, you have Stalin. On the left side, you have a guy named Hitler. They're greeting each other as gentlemen do. The scum of the earth, I believe. The bloody assassin of the workers, I assume. And look at what they are greeting each other over.
What do you think that is?
Is what appears to be a dead body. And written on the dead body is Poland, right? So these two gentlemen are just figuring things out over the death of Poland. Okay? Now, when Stalin is calling Hitler the bloody assassin of the workers, do you think that's a hint towards his political and economic ideology? Right? The whole thing about communism is the strength of the working class. Okay? Now, Stalin was not a good representative of that, but that's why he's saying that. And Hitler is calling him the scum of the earth because Nazis wanted to protect property. Okay? So you don't want to give up your private property. He says, scum of the earth.
So I want to add to you that for you guys, and I heard you already said that if Mr. Whoever is teaching that art in 1980s in Poland, it becomes a political prisoner, as my history teacher did. He became a political prisoner over teaching this that was not in books. He was teaching it just out. He disappeared for 2 years, 2.5 years, and came back a changed man. Wow. Physically and emotionally, and never taught the true history of Poland again.
That's sad.
You go back real quick. Guys, what do you think the picture is saying about Poland? Are they going to have any say in the dividing of their country? Look at the picture.
Charlie.
If they're depicting you as dead, does that mean you get to have one say? I'm telling you guys, these political cartoons, there are about 10 of them on your, so you're going to need to understand them.
This one's cute, right? We love a cute couple.
People thought Dennis Rodman was.
So, this is clearly depicting something. What is it depicting? What's that, Mark? You're married. Who's married? Hitler and Stalin, right? And the caption at the bottom says, "Wonder how long the honeymoon will last." Do you guys want a spoiler? Not long. Patrick.
The idea that Nazi Germany and currently be incredibly fascist Russia were a perfect match for now, but eventually both of them will end up either destroying or taking from each other.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. If I could show you something, the reason why this is funny, like people in America thought this, they didn't think it was funny, haha, they thought it was ironic. Okay. And when you hear politics on TV, you'll hear somebody call, oh, they're from the far right or they're from the far left. I want you to understand something. If this is the political center where people can agree on things, most Democrats would be about right here. Most Republicans would go right here. Now, you get some extremes, like if you went Bernie Sanders, you'd probably be over here. Trump, you'd probably be over here. But that's about as far, I mean, we get some people who, but when you're talking communism, that's like left policy to the ultimate. And this is like, you're still talking about people having choices in here when you get to the far extremes. So these two together are completely so diametrically opposed on everything they believe. It's insanely funny.
Yeah.
They literally hate when Stalin said basically how it was making fun of him, how he was the enemy of the workers. He is not joking. That's not.
Which, yeah, fascists are the enemy of the workers. So, September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland.
I guarantee this one is on your desk.
So this cartoon right here, we have Poland. What do we have right here?
What is that supposed to represent? Like, exactly. It's a Nazi war machine steamroller. They're just plowing right over the top of them.
Ms. Razzie, do you have any comments on September 1st, 1939?
September 1st, 1939 is always on September 1st. And up to, I don't know, up to today's date, but up to 30 years ago from the communist era. And at that time is the day where the kids go to school. That's the first day to go back to school after summer break. Unless it falls, obviously, on Saturday or Sunday. So on that day, it's super tragic, I mean, the day, but I think more tragic is that Polish people are waiting on help from friends, and I guess some French people are sandbagging along the national line. And maybe Coach or Mr. Brown
Yeah.
can explain how many people are angry to this day that there was no help
Yeah.
from friends. That they were, Polish people were dying. And
Yeah.
friends were just along that national line, they were just sunbathing, like nothing ever happened. They felt that he stops there.
Right.
That
It
he,
didn't
the
affect
bully
them.
will stop there. He will take that and he will stop there. They didn't think it will go.
And that was the attitude of appeasement was, well, we're Great Britain and France, we're the two other superpowers on this continent, and it's not affecting us yet, so why would we do anything to put ourselves in harm's way and stop it until it does affect you?
One other thing you need to know about the geography of Poland. Poland sits on a great plain. What describes, how would you describe a plain? Very flat. So you think it's easy to roll tanks in there from both sides? Extremely. Now, and this war is different because besides tanks and men on the ground, where are soldiers coming from? The air. This is the first war where all of a sudden you'll have airplanes dropping soldiers out and they'll parachute down and it's a whole new ballgame.
The reason why the Nazis were able to kind of hold their own at war with the world is because their engineering and all these different things were like ahead of its time. That's why after the war, the US recruits former Nazi scientists into our space program.
That's how we got the moon.
So like Werner von Braun is an example of this, right? We have guys who were helping to build up the Nazi war machine, and they're the ones who are the reason, like they have the most advanced plane technology at that point. They were working on an atomic bomb at the same time that we were, right? And so that's how they're able to do this so easily. So then, September 3rd, 1939, Britain and France declare war on the Axis powers. You will have to know the term Axis powers. We're talking about Italy, Germany, and Japan when we say Axis powers. We say Allied powers, who are we talking about? France, Britain,
And most importantly, us, yes.
the U.S. The Soviets we consider on their own thing because the U.S. after World War II is going to look at the Soviets as the next big threat. We'll talk a lot about that in the post-war era.
Basically, think of it this way. If you've ever heard this saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, basically we knew the Germans hated the Russians and it kept Hitler fighting a two-front war, so we don't like you, but we'll work with you.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to leave it there today because this gets into the beginning of the war. We'll talk about the beginning, the actual battles and stuff like that next time.
We have something, we have a little biopics on, I used to show one on Hitler and Jojo.
Okay.
Although we do have it on Mussolini too,
We do that Friday then maybe, or tomorrow.
Friday, Monday.
So that is setting the stage for World War II Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, thank you.
Huh. Stop it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll stop it.
Do you know about the Battle of Westerplatte? Come on. I don't want it because you have so much.
Yeah, that's the issue.
It's not
Trying to
right.
hit everything.
No, it's okay. It's just being into play on both sides, I guess, on the, and you were being musical, I'm not going to tell you that. That was not the, the fact is, Russia is kind of, they're back on us.
No, it's okay. So just
That's what I'm
relative.
saying.
Yeah, so even at that age,
You don't.
Why even come to class except for just, if you take check in, and if you need to go around and get your work, go ahead. You're not gonna miss anything in your work, watch your, I can send you that.
how do you watch it?
But to the point that you get, you are young out, people would say, you are young out. And you are going this is so dangerous. And you don't know. And the guy was on top of everything. He was, you know, not selling, but for the minimum, with the sell process, with the push, people, like and we knew who did something. She was involved in the family that was supposed to she was, you know, I guess she told her daddy that everything apartments, they need to be here. Okay? Yeah. And everybody else was in apartments.
Yeah.
Okay? She had to be all, she had a daddy. And business, that was, I told her. I need to be done.
Hear how that works.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Starting to do
So, yeah. What's the It's okay. But anytime you have an energy, you can teach the rest of them.
I'll try. Maybe we get so much.
Very courageous model. That was. No, I'm joking. It's a little of it, let's take a look. It's okay with you, I'm going to start talking to ahead of the crowd. Is that okay? I hope. We did. See you guys tomorrow.
Have a good day. Hope you start feeling better.
Bye, coach. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. What? Yeah, send it to you. There you go. Hey, sure. Thanks, sweetie. Maybe you should.
Oh, that was scary. It wasn't scary at all.
I shared it like 7 o'clock this morning.
I was catching coffee when I walked by the past. No, I said, I'm gonna go back. I don't need to do this.
Are you using your thing?
Push up.
Lily.
Did you watch any of the games?
Uh,
No?
I saw that Arsenal.
Declan Rice's free kicks?
Ellie.
I'd rather have Arsenal win than Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid lost.
Yeah, because Declan Rice is in.
2 free kicks.
Two
And he
best
was
free kicks
like,
you'll ever see.
his coach was like,
Well, I think he was trying to tell him to cross it.
yeah. His coach was saying all the things for it.
He was not at all. That's the funny thing.
I missed the Brown finally hit another 70-mile-an-hour mini bike.
Are you just calling them right
Did you
now?
see Biden?
That's how it pays off.
Yes, sir.
It has an automated $100 fuel pump on it, $200 carburetor,
You're just saying words, man.
0 to 60 in 3 seconds for a mini bike. Come on. I'm about to be zooming. I'm about to beat him on his little moped.
The second,
Mr. Hill, I'm on the E team for the 4x8.
what?
I'm on the E team for the 4x8.
I just put you in there, however you, don't pay attention to that, it's already.
Logan, did you guys win on Tuesday?
Why do you have that? Why you?
Why not?
That man was crying before.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Brown.
Mr. Brown, look at this. Mr. Brown.
He had the back.
Also, where you from? Oh, yeah. I got tape. There we go.
So homepage, review, and the quizzes should be in order.
What is it, Google title? I just read that one dropped. Right? Wait, what? Right, okay. Here we go.
He said that.
I don't know. They're trying to give me the answer.
I was assuming. Section. Right here. These are very easy. No, there you go.
How long did you run?
He was a veteran artist. Oh, for the, play. Yeah.
All right, how are we doing, folks? You will have a little bit to look over your study guide
Oh, there it is.
and memorize all your answers.
Wow.
Mina was different today.
You have 10 minutes.
Let's see, I'm locking in. Oh,
There you go.
It's 2 minutes for photos.
Don't forget them.
Our purpose was-
Well, if you don't, put there, I'll go up.
Coach, keep her word to.
Yep,
Alright, this one's easy.
she wants to try to get, she wants to get more.
During his reign.
Tell her she got 100, I get more extra credit.
Get.
Use the sign to look over your study guide.
Okay. The peace of Augsburg changed Christianity to German God.
Yes, second row.
It's a freedom of. Oh.
So,
That's not
Are you gonna try Kennedy and just give you more extra credit or? You don't have to. I told her, I told her she got 100, I give her more extra credit. But if you don't get first, I won't got it against you.
I saw this.
It goes to two groups.
Anyone who says, you know, but you can